The Pippen family could make up a football team. With 12 children, Scottie's parents had more than enough to handle. Let's learn more about this family who had to share their underwear, care for a paralyzed brother, and struggle through the thick and thin that shaped the legend, Scottie Pippen. Let's start with his father. You know that type of father that brings lots of babies into the world, but also works his tail off to make sure they all get the best? Preston Pippen was that kind of father. He was a veteran of World War II before he began cutting logs at the Georgia Pacific paper mill. Having 12 children is no easy business. It's hard to even fathom how their dinner nights would have looked like back in the 1960s. How did Scottie even manage to grow as tall and as physical as he is in a house like that? They'd struggled financially and lived in a 4-room house, but still managed to grow up nicely. The downside was all his hard work was not enough to send his kids to college. And things became even worse when he had a stroke when Scottie was in the 9th grade. Prior to this, Preston had stopped going to work for some time because of his arthritis. Scottie wrote in his autobiography titled Unguarded that he found it difficult to watch his Little League baseball games due to this disease. Then, one night, while he was sitting in their living room watching baseball like he had enjoyed doing and had once played, his plate dropped from his hand and he fell to the edge of the sofa, coughing up food through his mouth and nostrils. He was paralyzed and, of course, couldn't walk or talk. Now out of work and confined to a wheelchair, the family suffered even further. Preston Pippen later died in 1990 when Scottie was enjoying a playoff run. He later spoke of how his death had helped him become more of a man. Quote, "The things that have happened for me, to me, have helped me grow up, especially the passing of my father. That was something that took me to another level of growing and maturing. That's when I started to be more of a man." End quote. If his father was that influential to him, his mother was even more influential. Scottie's mother, Ethel Pippen, was born in 1923 to Walter and Emma William Harris, who are natives of Jones, Louisiana, in the United States. She picked cotton with her mother as a kid, and in 1940, she was forced to leave the Southeast with her family after a hurricane struck their city. She was over 6 feet tall and could have been a basketballer herself, but she decided to marry a 6'1" guy and create a dozen tall children instead. Scottie was the youngest, but he was of course the tallest among all of her children. She was a homemaker, and to have raised 12 children with one becoming a basketball star must be one superpower. She was a member of the Soldiers Chapel AME Church, and her spirituality was evident in her way of life and in the manner she raised her children. Ethel unfortunately died on the 26th of February in 2016 at Baptist Health Medical Center in Little Rock, Arkansas. Scottie described her as, quote, "My late mother, Ethel Pippen, Mom raised 12 kids and was tough as nails. Her faith meant the world to her, and she instilled that same faith in me. She kept us in line and did everything in her power to make sure we were fed, clothed, and happy. I'm grateful I was able to take care of her later in life after all she did for us." End quote. Scottie also describes his mother as strict and tough in his autobiography, qualities she had gotten from Emma Harris, her mother. Emma Harris is Scottie's grandmother, who also played a vital part in his life and in that of his siblings. She was extremely tough and hardworking. In fact, her hard work was kind of legendary. She owned a house next door to the Pippins and owned a phone. For a long time, it was this phone Scottie's family used until they could afford their own. So people usually called Grandma Harris, and she would race to get the Pippins. She also had a dirt court which Scottie and his brothers would play on. With their number, they could have had 2 basketball teams with 2 extra players. With 12 children, it's hard to tell what the intentions of Scottie's parents were. Maybe they wanted to put them to work and have them stretch their hands to get the fruit from the trees with their height. Well, not exactly that, of course, but the Pippen family are farmers and herders who knew how to use their hands to make a living for themselves. They include Scottie, Sharon, Ronnie, Billy, Jimmy, Carl, Donald, Ray, Barbara, Faye, and Kimberly. These children worked together in the family garden and pens, breeding and cultivating chickens, hogs, vegetables, squash, and corn. So basically, the family never lacked when it came to food and love. And aside from raising plants and animals, they were also raised in the way of the Lord, with a mindset of hard work in the small town of Hamburg, Arkansas. But their life soon changed. When Scottie was just 3 years old, one of his older brothers, Ronnie, was attacked in school by a bully who sucker punched him in the middle of his back. Ronnie, 13 at the time, fell to the floor and never got back up again. Sharon, who was 11 at the time, had rushed to him to try to get him up, but she couldn't. She was furious. She had told Ronnie to always fight back, but he wouldn't. he was too gentle of a soul. This was not the first time the bully would be hassling Ronnie, but it turned out to be the last, because Ronnie had spent months in the hospital and came back home paralyzed from the neck down. But this was where another advantage of having a big family manifested, as the kids took turns taking care of both Ronnie and their dad. They also ensured that their littlest brother was well disciplined and cared for. This meant that Scottie was handed a lot of clothes and other essentials that have seen so many years and so many buttocks. But it also meant that he didn't have to worry about getting any new clothes. Then the tables turned when he started to care for them following his break into professional basketball. Quote, "I always helped take care of my family, but it was more than that. At the point when I lost my father, it really made me want to be like a father and be like my father. It was a real turning point for me because it helped me mature. It made me think about being responsible because I wasn't the only one I had to think about. I had realized I had to become a more responsible person, and I also realized I could become as good as I wanted to in this game if I put forth the effort. And when I cheated, I wasn't cheating anyone but myself." One of his sisters later had a kid that became a basketball player himself. Scottie's nephew, Kavion Pippen, was born on October 15th, 1996. He has played in the NBA briefly for the Golden State Warriors, but didn't get much success. He currently plays in the G League for the Long Island Nets as a center. But as far as Scottie's own family is concerned, he seems to be living up to the extended family name. He currently has 6 children, which would have been 8 if 2 hadn't tragically died, but he might still just clock that 12 like his parents did. But before we talk about his kids, let's talk more about Scottie's love life. Karen McCollum was born and bred in Malvern, Arkansas. She went to Central Arkansas University and is a musician and businesswoman who was once featured as a pianist in Dynasty Season 2, which is a show aired by CW. Her Instagram profile lists her as a keyboardist and lead singer with Foreground Band. It is not clear when she started dating Scottie, but the two had a baby, Antron, in 1987 and married in 1988 before divorcing in 1990. But before their marriage, Scottie was seeing another woman on the side named Chevette Valentine. Chevette Valentine is another woman that Scottie reportedly dated in 1987. Valentine later sued him for travel expenses worth $9,999, which she claimed Pippen promised to pay her but didn't. She claimed that she hadn't known that Scottie was in a relationship with Karen or that he was married for that matter. She usually visited him in his hotel room when he was on the road for the Bulls until he opened up to her about being married during one of their fights. But they apparently continued to date even after Scottie divorced until they split up officially in 1993. Pippen, in his part, seemed to be on a mission to not just win championship titles, but win women and make more babies. The next woman he got tied up with ended in another bitter controversy. On the 20th of July 1994, Sonia Roby and Scottie welcomed twin Taylor and Tyler Pippen. Unfortunately, Taylor died after living only for 9 days, and the truth is, Scottie didn't welcome any of the children. He denied the babies even after a paternity test was carried out that confirmed he was the father. But he eventually agreed to pay the outstanding hospital bills from the birth, which was $10,000 approximately. He also agreed to give the child insurance through the NBA. Sonia Roby Martin, as far as we can tell, has moved on from all of that mess. She is currently a renowned photographer based in Chicago, Illinois. She has shot celebrities like Magic Johnson, Brian Urlacher, and Charles Tillman. After Sonia, Scottie advanced to dunk his seeds on yet another woman. Yvette DeLeon was the next dame on Scottie's list. They had been together soon after he ended things with Sonia. They got engaged and gave birth to a child named Sierra on February 17th, 1995, but only 3 months later, Scottie was arrested for allegedly assaulting her physically. However, the charges were dropped after Yvette refused to testify against him. A while later, they broke up and it came down to yet another paternity issue. What would Scottie do about Sierra? Well, first, he denied her until a paternity test pointed accusing fingers at him yet again. So he agreed to cover the expenses of her entire education, insurance, medical expenses, and child support. Yvette's lawyer also confirmed that he was connecting with the child. Quote, "He's taking care of the child, he loves the child, he visits with the child on a regular basis, he's a good father," end quote. Yvette and Scottie continued to stay in touch, but Cupid had already failed to hit the mark for Scottie yet again. But maybe he would get it right with the next woman, Larsa. Larsa Yunin is a socialite, reality TV personality, and entrepreneur. She is best known for being part of the first people to star in The Real Housewives of Hollywood in 2011. She had also made multiple appearances in Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And on the business side, she has a jewelry line called Larsa Marie, which she launched in 2020. She was Scottie's second wife. They tied the knot in 1997 and were soon productive, giving birth to 4 kids: Justin, Sophia, Scottie Jr. and Preston. Their union has been Scottie's longest. It looked like Cupid had finally struck for him, but they actually separated in 2015. During this break, she started to date American musician Future, and after him, she dated Tristan Thompson in 2016 and then again in 2020. NBA player Malik Beasley was seen holding hands with Larsa, and he also commented something flirty on an Instagram post of hers, but nothing official was said. Beasley's wife later filed for divorce a year later anyway, but it doesn't stop there. In 2022, Larsa was seen on a date with Michael Jordan's son. Anyways, in 2016, Scottie filed for divorce, but they reportedly worked things out with each other and were back together again. However, in 2018, they did again split, but this time for good. Larsa confirmed in a statement that read, quote, "It is with deep sadness that Scottie and I announce that we are legally separating. We have both tried very hard for a long time to make our marriage work and have ultimately come to the conclusion that it is best that we live separate lives." End quote. The two of them are still in contact and share custody over their children. As for the kids, we will start with Scottie's first and move down from there. The first son of the NBA legend is Scottie Pippen. He was born on December 12, 1987, and the kid looked like he was going to be a basketball star, just like his father. He played for South Georgia Technical College, Texas A&M International, and for the World Basketball Association. Dad was proud. Quote, "He's a late bloomer, like me," he told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution in 2006. "He's probably better than I was as a high school player." End quote. He showed resilience and passion even as he battled asthma, but the disease must have overwhelmed him eventually, as unfortunately, he died April 23rd, 2021. The other kid Scottie lost was Tyler. Tyler is the twin sister to Taylor, who died 9 days after their birth. Her twin sister Taylor survived. Taylor Pippen is the first daughter of Scottie from his relationship with Robbie. Even though his father didn't accept her, it didn't stop the athletic blood from flowing through her veins. She played volleyball both in high school and college for Carmel Catholic School and Southern Illinois University, respectively. She also earned some awards for her sporty efforts. However, right now her LinkedIn profile describes her as the vice president middle market banker at JP Morgan Chase & Company. She and Scottie are not in touch, and she claims to be okay with it. Quote, "I was born and raised near Chicago. Can you imagine how many questions they've asked me about my father? I know how much my last name weighs. I know that people expect a lot from me, but I have learned that Pippen is just that, a last name." End quote. Another girl that may just be bearing the Pippen name without any fatherly attachments is Ciara. Ciara Pippen was the third child that Scottie denied until a paternity test forced him to accept her. Little is known about her or her relationship with her dad, but thankfully Pippen is not entirely estranged from all his kids, especially the ones he shares with Larsa. Scottie Jr. is the first son with Larsa. He was born on November 10th, 2000. He has certainly followed in his dad's footsteps. He played high school basketball for Sierra Canyon, where LeBron and Dwayne Wade's kids both also played. He then played college basketball for the Vanderbilt Commodores. He's currently playing for the Los Angeles Lakers on a two-way contract after he was undrafted in 2022. We wish the very best for Scottie Jr. Preston Pippen came 2 years after Scottie Jr. on August 26, 2002, and was honored with the name of his grandfather. He went to and played for Sierra Canyon High School like his brother. Not much is known yet about his basketball college career, but we know he is friends with Shaquille O'Neal's sons Sharif and Shakir, and also LeBron's kid. Their youngest brother is Justin. Justin was born in California on July 11, 2005, and Justin appears to be closest to his father. He also plays basketball at the same high school as his brothers, but has tested the modeling industry a bit too. Himself and his younger sister Sophie were in the True Faces of the World campaign held for children of different cultures and backgrounds in 2016. Sophia is the only daughter of Scottie that he has a close relationship with. She is the only one that has gotten to enjoy the meaning of having your dad by your side. She was born a day after Christmas in 2006, and her godmother is Kim Kardashian. She's already enjoying a beautiful career as a top model. She has been featured in Dancing with the Stars Juniors and True Faces of the World campaigns, amongst others. She also has a huge following on TikTok where she posts herself, her family, including cameos from Scottie. Learn something about Scottie Pippen's family? Learn more about another one of these NBA legends and their families showing right now.